The KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has been given until Wednesday to respond to claims that he interfered with the arrest of a senior prison official back in 2023. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate has confirmed it's launched an investigation into Mkhwanazi. IPID has also clarified that the complaint was from an anonymous member of the public and not the police minister. Let's now get some reaction on this and speak to the chairman of the Portfolio Committee on Police, Ian Cameron. Ian, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. What's your initial reaction to the confirmation that IPID has launched this investigation?
Good morning, Aldrin. Firstly, I think the statement that they released could be a little bit premature. It's interesting to me to release a statement with allegations like this so publicly when you yourself admit that the investigation is still in infancy shoes. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. It does feel like there's a little bit of a political taste to it. That being said, the law and due process must take its course. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this investigation and what the response of the PC in KwaZulu-Natal is.
Yeah. What do you mean a political taste to it?
It feels odd to me that this happened 2 weeks after General Mkhwanazi made certain statements during the Police Portfolio Committee. It could just be coincidence, but something I've learned over time, especially with regards to internal police politics, is that coincidence is usually not the reason or not the case. And in this specific matter, General Mkhwanazi made very strong statements 2 weeks ago about not only political interference over the years, but also being instructed not to investigate certain people by certain senior ranking politicians. And in this case, it does have a bit of a taste to that. But that being said, it's just a feeling. I've got nothing to prove it with. So yes, we'll have to see what comes out of it. As I said, and as IPID has said, it's still in infancy shoes. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, because even if you think about it, I remember the story came out sometime in January earlier this year. And since then, not too sure what has happened since the allegation was made. And at the time, the spokesperson for the police in KZN had disputed the allegations that were leveled against Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, but not too sure that what would have caused the delay in terms of the investigation itself.
Yeah, and that being said, you would have thought that a preliminary, and I call it preliminary because it actually lacks any real substance, the statement by IPID, you would think that something of more depth would be made when you so-called expose something that's as high profile as this. In a high profile matter, it's important that first of all you try and get your facts straight before commenting or communicating too strongly publicly. I'm not sure what what General Mkhwanazi's response would be. So it also, I mean, I see probably this week we should see some kind of hopefully a public response of some sort, and then we'll have to monitor it. I'd really find it interesting to hear what IPID says. Hopefully in the police committee we can ask a few questions too. Possibly they can take us into confidence with parts of it, obviously not to jeopardize any form of investigation. Look, if it is a matter of truly acting and cleaning up, it's important. And again, that's why I say due process must take course. But I don't know, at the moment, it feels like there's no substance to what is being communicated publicly.
Yeah. So when the story first came out in January, the City Press had led with the story as well, that Mkhwanazi allegedly prevented police from arresting a former Westville acting head and area coordinator, Nhlanhla Ndlovu. Was there anything from the Portfolio Committee side that you had done to look into these allegations?
No, we just took note of it, and we obviously didn't sit at that time yet. We also haven't had a formal sitting with IPID specifically yet. But no, we haven't. That's why, in my opinion, it's important for due process to take its course. I think one of the frustrating parts about the portfolio committee and the role that we play is it's often quite, it happens in reaction to things. And there are parts that we can't interfere with. And it's important to understand that we don't have operational capacity. And that's why I said we'll give them the space that they need to do what they need to do. And then hopefully we'll get some of the feedback and be allowed to ask certain questions.
Yeah, and as you've indicated, the IPID statement saying that the investigation is still at an infancy stage, and General Mkhwanazi has until Wednesday to respond to these allegations that have been leveled against him. In the meantime, considering the gravity of the allegations being leveled against him, should he remain in his position as the Provincial Police Commissioner?
In my opinion, yes. I think if there's more substance to it, City Press led with a story about the head of crime intelligence being sacked 2 weeks ago, and that was false. But City Press had some amazing stories over the weekend again that were spot on. So, again, we need to look at it objectively. If the National Commissioner should find that there is substance to anything, then obviously some kind of a suspension would probably be necessary. But that's up to the National Commissioner. I don't have enough information. In fact, I don't have any more information than you do to really be able to say exactly what should happen. For now, from a let's call it an eagle eye point of view, I think there isn't enough substance. Everything that I read from IPID and the statement, etc., is purely allegations. They also say in their statement that it was an anonymous report. So we can't just suspend on anonymous reports. We'll have to wait and see what substance they bring to the fore. And I think the National Commissioner should likely meet with the head of IPID about this. I wouldn't be surprised. And then he'd obviously have to make the call. Again, it's the National Commissioner's call, no one else's. And it's important that that difference between politics and operational matters is very clearly set out or borderlined. It's important that the National Commissioner then be allowed to do what he needs to do and to fulfill his mandate as the National Commissioner of SAPS.
Yeah. So in terms of the employment conditions of a provincial police commissioner, in this particular case, when there's an investigation being conducted by IPID, can the police commissioner, the National Police Commissioner, have his own investigation to determine whether or not to suspend or not to suspend, considering that with the IPID investigation, we don't have a timeline as yet around when they will be done with the investigation?
Yeah. He certainly can. He can also get recommendations from IPID. So it very often happens that IPID would give recommendations regarding matters such as this. But he certainly can conduct his own investigation. And they do have the relevant SAPS regulations and internal processes with which to quite urgently probe something such as this. In my opinion, it would be wise to expedite matters without being detrimental to any investigation, but expedite it because it's now already open in public, and it's important to make sure that you now communicate adequately on it, because otherwise you've got this dark cloud hanging over whether it's an individual or an entire management. SAPS can't really afford any further credibility losses, so it's important that the National Commissioner does do something, even if it's just to start by communicating on the matter.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Ian Cameron is the Portfolio Committee Chairperson on policing there. His reaction to the confirmation by IPID that they have launched an investigation into allegations levelled against the Provincial Police Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal,